Or good morning. This is me, Mom. How many of you have ever been had to take a daring leap to do something? Remember when we were kids and somebody'd say, "I double dog dare you to do that," and when it was something that you were afraid to do? Or think about a toddler the first time that Daddy wants her to jump off somewhere so that he can catch her. And it's a long way from where she's standing and where Daddy is, but he says, "Come on, trust me, I'll catch you." So, and of course, most of the time they finally jump and Daddy does catch them. And it was rather like how I felt when God put it on our heart to take a leap of faith. So, and when it happened was during a building program at our church. And this was before the televangelists with their prosperity messages that we hear so much now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything about that because I do believe that if we give, we will receive, and if we plant good seed on good ground, we're going to produce a good harvest. And I know that bread cast upon the water comes back to you, so I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying that we wouldn't hear a lot of that at the time. So, but the preacher told us that if we would take a leap of faith and give beyond what we thought we could give, that God would help us get out of debt. So he told us to take all of our bills and write them down on a list and bring them to the church along with our money for our leap of faith, and God would help us get out of debt. Well, we believed that he had heard from God. And Fred and I talked about it, and we said, there's no way we're going to ever get out of debt. You know, probably when we die, we'll still be owing some money on that loan we took out from the tire store. But anyway, we said, why not? So we made a list of everything that we owed, and we brought the money, and the big bill that we had, of course, we had the house payment and other things, but the big bill was the one at the tire store. And that was the one that we were paying 23% interest on. So anyway, we did this. We took a leap of faith. And and we trusted God to do it, but we certainly didn't know how, but this is one of those things that we hoped was going to be true. And we don't talk a lot about hope, but I think hope, when we realize the hope that we have in God and it comes true, then we have more ability to have faith and trust Him. So I think hope plays a real important part in our walk with the Lord. But in case you think that it happened overnight, I got news for you. It does not happen overnight. As a matter of fact, when God began to move in our lives to help get us out of debt, it was so gradual, and so nothing big happened at one time, and so I didn't really realize that God was helping us get out of debt. But anyway, the first thing that I thought about was all of a sudden, you know, just one day I just happened to think, well, we've got that little house on our piece of property there, and we are not making any money on it. I mean, we're getting we went up from a little bit of money. We're finally getting $135 a month for the rent on the little house that we were renting out. But they were tearing up so much that we never even realized any money out of the rent of the house. So I just happened to think one day, I said, Fred, how much money you reckon we could get, since interest rates are so high? How much interest do you think we could make on this house if we could get $25,000 for it? He said, well, call the bank. So I called the bank, and I said, how much could we get on $25,000? He said, figured up a little bit, he said, $265 a month. I said, Fred, that's $115 more a month than what we're getting in rent. And I said, we wouldn't have any aggravation with it. So we decided that we would sell it. Well, I called a real estate agent, and she came out there, and she said, well, we could probably get $14,000 for it. I said, I'm not going to sell it for that. So anyway, we said, well, just keep it. And about 6 months later, I saw in the want ads in our local newspaper, which I don't always read that, but somebody was looking for property in our area. And so I called him. He come out. He said, how much you want for it? I said, I want $25,000 for it. He said, okay, well, my commission is this. I'll add that on there. So we're going to add, I think it was $28,000 for the house. And it wasn't a month, y'all, before we sold the house for $28,000. And so he says, how would you like to owner finance it? I said, that'd be great. I said, but I don't know that there's any way we can do it because we need the money out of it. So anyway, I don't know. If I had known I was going to be telling you this 36 years later, I would have made notes, but I didn't. And I don't know why we had to have money, but we were able to sell some lots that Fred had that his daddy had given him a long time ago that he had never even tried to sell. We sold something else, and we come up with the money that we had to have to be able to finance the house. And y'all, God set it up. We financed the house for 20 years at 12% interest, and interest went down, and nobody ever said anything about refinancing. So anyway, we got $264 a month for 20 years on that little house. And be honest with you, there were times if we hadn't had that little house with that income coming in, we would have gone lacking for something. But praise God, that happened. Well, then, and I got to tell you that all the time this was happening at the tire store, I said, "Oh, Fred, if we have another week like we have this week, we're gonna get ahead." Well, I got to tell you, it never came. And one time we were going to have to pay a tire bill, and we didn't have the money. And I believed God. I just knew, I mean, if you have enough faith, it's going to happen, right? And I believed God, and I did everything in the world I could to believe God that it was going to come in. And guess what? It didn't come in. So I was really complaining. I said, Lord, you said that you would supply all of our needs. And I said, I'm going to have to take it out of the savings account to pay this tire bill. He says, be glad you got it in the savings account. I said, oh my gosh, okay, well, I thought I needed something in the savings account for my retirement. But anyway, we took it out. So all this is happening, and then one day we were just talking about how far it was to drive from Savannah to go to Statesboro to go to church, and and we were having to keep up the house where we were. The house was actually too big for me and Fred, and he was spending all day Saturday with the big tractor cutting up mowing the road back there and around the house, and I was having to be on the little lawnmower cutting grass, and I mean it was taking all of our spare time. So we thought we ought to move to Statesboro. So one day, just because we didn't have nothing else to do, we rode around looking to see where we might like to live if we moved to Statesboro. And I found a house that I really liked. And Fred said, well, call him and see how much it is. So when I called the girl, she told me, and she said, do you think about selling your house? I said, not really. I said, we were just looking. She said, well, let me come out and take a look. So I wanted to know how much our house was worth anyway. So she came out and she says, I said, I wouldn't sell it for less than $125,000. She says, well, I think we can get that for it. I said, well, if somebody gives us $125,000 for this house, I'll know that God wants me to move. Well, she had somebody come out and look, and they really liked it, and they wanted it, but they couldn't get a loan. And then I listed with 2 other people, and every time that I listed it, y'all, I would go up. I went up from $125,000, I went up to $128,000, and then I went up to $132,000, and I didn't get it with any of those real estate agents. So. And they wouldn't advertise like I knew they needed to advertise. I knew that if it was advertised in Savannah, that somebody would buy it because they wanted to get out of Savannah. So I put an ad for sale by owner, and I put it in the newspaper, and somebody called me, and they wanted it. And so then they wanted us to be out in 30 days, and so I sold it for $135,000. But the day that I got the offer on it, they wanted to buy it. I called Fred. I said, somebody wants to buy the house. And he said, well, good. And so I called my sister Murtis, who was close by, and I told her what had happened. I said, Mr. James bought that mobile home from y'all. I said, I wish we'd have gone ahead and bought it when y'all had it up for sale, but I never knew I would need it. I said, sure would be nice if we could have that little mobile home now. And she said, yeah, it would be. So about 4 o'clock that afternoon, before Fred got home, Myrtis called me. She said, you are not going to believe this. Mr. James, the one that owned it, and it was still sitting on Myrtis and Woodrow's property, he just come over and asked if we knew anybody that might like to buy the mobile home because he's going to move out. So when Fred got home, we went over there and told Mr. James we wanted to buy it. So we bought the mobile home, and it only cost us $4,000, and it's still sitting on Myrtis and Woodrow's property. We paid them for a lot fee, and so we were able to actually move into the mobile home. I fixed it up, made it cute, painted some, and bought some appliances to go in there, put my old furniture that I did not want anymore to furnish it, and so we lived there until our house was built. And so when the house was built, I was able to sell it, and I made $1,000 off of the sale of the thing. And so I had money to buy me furniture for my den and my new house. And so we built the new house, paid off the loan on the old one, what we owed, and then we got enough out of the $135,000 to pay off that loan, and my house was free and clear. I did not have a house payment. So I got out of debt with the house, and I had $264 more a month coming in. So anyway, that was, but hey, we still struggle financially. I don't know what we'd have done if we hadn't done that, but thank God, God got us out of the debt for the house. And he sold the little house, and we're making money for it. So next week, I'm going to continue sharing with you how God got us out of debt, y'all. And I just think it's amazing. And the amazing thing is, I'm nobody special, y'all. You've heard my videos up to now. All I've ever done is just tried my best to obey God and to trust Him. And I didn't have a lot of faith when I did, thinking He's going to get us out of debt, because I didn't really know how He's going to do it. But He is faithful even when we're not. So join me next week. Thanks. So listen, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks.